So again, what the fuck are all these fucking hieroglyphics? How can I read people and know if I should X them out before I become friends with them? I got you. So if you watched part 1, I showed you where to get a chart on several different websites. They also come with interpretation, so you have to learn this shit. It's just useful so that you could be like, oh, I see your Venus is there. I don't want you in my life. If you want to do shit like that, yeah. So first, we're gonna demystify some of this shit. That's the chart, and then this thing down here with all like these little fucking like little shapes is the aspect chart. I mean, they just put those symbols there to kind of gatekeep you out, making you feel like, oh my god, it's so overwhelming. It's still overwhelming to learn it, but like it's gonna be less. Plus, I'll show you where to go to find places that would just fucking read that shit for you. But honestly, it's better in the long run if you could do it so that you can look it up a bitch and be like, you're not coming in my life. It'll help you with that. First things first, if you already got one of these, so obviously the circle is your chart. Right here where they have like sun, moon, those are your personal planets. And those are pretty much like their locations on your chart. You don't really need to know too much about that, but I'm going to show you what their little hieroglyphics look like so that you get more familiarized with them. Go to part next, let's say 3, for the aspects, where I explain to you why the aspects are angles, and I'll show you how it actually lines up. You got all the fucking planets that you see here, okay? You got the sun, you got like Saturn, you got, all of them, even Pluto. Like where like Pluto, your ass is still here. Then they're going to call the sun and the moon planets too, just because they made everything else complicated, but they're like, no, we don't make differentiations. They're called planets. They're also called luminaries because they illuminate areas of your life. Everything in astrology is some yin-yang shit, okay? Just get like real used to that. Your moon is like your feelings, in your feels. And your sun is like your essence of who you are. Then you got like Mercury, how you talk and shit. Venus, how your love is. I'm going to show you the symbols now, and we're going to go over it. But if you have already known all this shit, go to part next. Let's say 3. Easy way to remember the planets is just remember, you only need to remember 5, kind of. And everyone's a bullshit copycat of Venus. There's Venus, looking real cute and stuff, you know what I mean? Venus, number 1. Then you got bullshit copycat of Venus, like that fucking copying ass bitch. It's literally like Venus, but it's got like a little fucking crown. It's Mercury. That's number 2. Then after, what's the opposite of Venus? Mars. Like, it's not even like, the fuck you doing there, Mars? You don't even have hands. Arrow my ass. If you want to remember later for Sagittarius is usually like associated with like men. They're both bullshit arrows. Then, number 4. What's 4? Jupiter, because it looks like a fucking 4. Then what's after Jupiter? Number 5, which is literally Saturn. Can you remember 5 planets? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are not your personal planets. Your personal planets are actually the first 3 only. But just remember 5 first. Then, after, what are the other 2 personal planets? It's your sun and moon. You're never going to fucking forget that shit. Why? Because the moon literally looks like a fucking moon. Like, if you forgot that shit, that would be embarrassing of you. It's a moon. Well, that's number 6. And then, what's after that? The sun. What does the sun look like? Weirdly, the target sign. I would have drawn a little fucking sun if I was one of the, the ancient civilizations, but not my fucking astrology creation. That's 7 so far, right? And then we got the outer planets. They're also bullshit version looking of Venus. You're gonna have the first one, the most egregious, Pluto. That bitch literally came dressed the same but wore a turtleneck. That's literally it. Then after that, you got bullshit fucking looking Uranus. She's like an upside down Venus, but her arms are all like upside down looking ass bitch. Then after that, you got Neptune. What does Neptune look like? You ever, Neptune's trident or Neptune's like shitty fork? It's like Venus again, except it doesn't even have a fucking head. Then after, you got your north and south node. What do they look like? You see these 2? The south node is the one that's an upside down the U. But you see the normal headphones? Like, you'd be wearing, like, that's some Beats by Dre or some shit. Well, maybe not Dre after all this, like, P. Diddy stuff. That's some headphones. That one is the north node. That's the one that you want to aim for. The fucked up you looking one? No, you don't want that one. That's the south node. Because it's in, it's backwards. Like your fucking lives were back then. So you got 5 personal planets, but I named it 1 through 5, so you never forget those fuckers, because they are literally number 4 or 5. Your personal planets are these guys right here. This shit fucks up with everything else. These are like the far away fuckers. Like they like change the generation shit. Like they're important, but not that important. Like this one, okay. Neptune's all like, ooh, mysterious and dreamy, and like maybe your psychic abilities. Uranus is like just some asshole who comes and disrupts everything. And Pluto's worse. Pluto's like, I come with death. And it's like, oh no. Death is metaphorically like change, extreme change. These are more important. This one's like your luck and shit. And this one's just a hard ass in your fucking life, but like maybe good things might come out of it. Saturn, That's why they call it a Saturn return. We're gonna go deeper into all of this shit. This is just when I was learning it, I'm like, what the fuck are all these symbols? I keep looking at it and be like, what the fuck's that? What the fuck's that? So I figured it'd be easier to ease you into it. You see, I put a little target sign on top of the sun. Isn't it cute? And also learning is just spaced repetition. So you actually have to see the same concepts over and over. So you watching one video for 30 minutes about how to fucking read this chart is not going to actually fucking do it, because that's actually not how learning works. Those personal planets are important because they tell the story of what is happening. You know what I mean? Where they're located tells where it's happening. Like, is it in your love life? Is it in your home? Is it with your work? But these tell you what the fuck's happening, and then the sign they're in tells you how the fuck it's happening. All right, so like quick example, your Mars is in your 4th house. 4th house is associated with family. So your actions are happening in your 4th house, and like, say the sign that's happening in it is Aries. So you got some feisty ass fucking actions happening in your family life, and it's like, well, I don't know. It may not be great. If it's like a chart comparison with someone else and they have like a very like soft fucking sign and planet, like they just got like some Pisces, Mercury or something like that, like they communicate like real soft and like real dreamy, your shit's not gonna fly with them. They're not gonna like you. So you learn shit like that. Like that's useful. And that story is told by these lines. They're called aspects. Aspects are the degree between planets the moment you're born. So where the planets were located, their degree away from Earth or whatever they're being compared to, that's what an aspect is. And essentially it looks like this. Because aspects are the relationship of the energies between planets measured by the angle between the planets. So like, hey, you got Venus right here, opposite of Mars, like total opposite. It's defined by the angle. So like, say this is the Venus and oh shit, this is supposed to be Mars, whatever. But they're opposite on this chart. And then what that represents is where they were when you were born. Essentially, when you were born, a picture was taken. Say that's Earth, right? These are the planets. Well, when you're actually looking at your natal chart, the middle is actually Earth. Even though this motherfucker's here in the middle. So 90 degrees up would be up. Nothing there. This is going slightly that way. That's a little bit more than 90 degrees. One might say 120. We'll show you later. But I also have a protractor, for people who don't remember and like, you want that shit. We're going to talk about it in the next video. Not this video, the next video. But like I said, these are your personal planets. These hieroglyphic shapes right here of all these triangles and squares, those are the aspects. And this is geometry. So just remember one thing. If it's a corner, it's not good. Meaning a right angle or a square. If it's something pointy like a star, it's usually good. So those little triangles are good. And those little, asterisks or like, little stars like that, they're good. Remember, geometry fucking loves stars. They're like, 5? 5's wonderful. Is that pointy? We love it. But if it's a corner, we don't like it, even though it gives great support. So in your chart, each of these little slices is a slice of your life. It's a part of your life, a domain of them. There are 12. And a certain sign will rule over it. Sometimes one sign could rule over like 3 of them. So, we'll fucking see. But just always remember that this pie is a circle. And what is a circle? It is 360 degrees. Because 360 degrees is how much the circle is, divided by 12. Each of these is 30 degrees. That'll be important in the aspect video. But now, let me give you a tutorial of the planets. This bitch named Lilith is important too, but how do you remember her? She's like some backwards ass version of the moon. She's a copycat ass fucking bitch of the moon. She's literally the moon with Venus. I guess that video clip got deleted. Okay, the one that's down there too that looks like Circle K, that shit's Chiron. It's important later, but like just like a circle goes up, becomes a K, Chiron. Again. So just remember, Venus, Moon. Everyone else, copying ass bitch. Pluto. How do you remember Pluto? Pluto's wearing the stupid fucking turtleneck. How do you remember Uranus? Because it looks like 2 U's at the end. And also, who's upside down? Upside down. And then that, just pitchfork. Just think trident. That's the only way I remember it. And which one's Mercury? The one with the stupid ass fucking hat. And which one's Venus? She's the original. Like Britney Spears, the original doll. Then 4-5. Why 4-5? I don't fucking know. But if you want to help, Saturn, because it looks like an S. Jupiter, because you're fortunate, because it's luck. The target sign, the sun, because you know who's on point and on target? Target. And the moon, it's the fucking moon. Not that hard, not that hard. Which one's the north node? The regular fucking headsets. Which one's the south node? The ugly headsets. And which one's Chiron? Okay. I don't know if that helps. That's how I remember them. Then there are 12 planets. 12 zodiac signs. We'll work our way through that shit. They're associated with the houses, so this is actually not that hard. This is just a very generalized version. We'll obviously go deeper into these, but just so that you get a familiarity with like the little emblems, everyone's a copycat ass bitch of Venus. Then you got 4-5. These are, I don't know, they call it I don't know what that fucking means. I just know what they do at your chart, okay? This one's a hard ass that like ruins your life with like responsibility and shit. And this one, too much of a good thing could be too much of a good thing. You know, they're like 2 types of boyfriends you have, like the boring ass motherfucker and the more exciting one that was terrible for you. You know, your moon is like, go for the one that's gonna break your heart. It'll be worth it for the plot. And you're like, I don't want to live for the plot no more. So, and these, like some faraway cousins that you're like, whatever. But then they come and they fuck shit up. These are your main 5 that you want to care about. Mercury, how you communicate, how you act and like, your drive and your actions. That's Mars. Venus, your love, your emotions, and like your essence. Hopefully that helped more than it confused you. If you're like, I'm more confused, it's like, oh my God, then you can have money back refund. No, this was free, bitch. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to confuse. That actually makes me sad. I hope it helped. It would help me if they slowed it down, honestly. Because like I'd be watching these videos and I'm like, slow down, slow down, slow down. And I'm like, pause, pause, pause. Then I feel bad. I went real slow because I also need it slow. All right, see you next video. We'll talk about the aspects, okay? Oh, then we'll talk about the houses.